I want to welcome everybody to the first meeting that we have had an actual quorum on in over a year, and we have a bunch of new folks. So what we're going to do first is we're just going to go around the virtual room and have all of our people introduce themselves so that we all know who's talking and who we are. And then we will kick off the agenda. So I'll start first. I'm Lynn Jensen. I'm the Bureau Chief. I will then go ahead and kick it off to... let's start. I'm going to just go in the order in which people are on my screen. So Frank, if you could unmute and introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Can you hear me now, Lynn?
Yeah.
Okay. So my folks, welcome to the new guys. My name is Frank Huntington. I'm a private investigator. I'm a PI representative on the advisory board. I'm up here in Sacramento.
Thank you. Leon?
Yeah, Leon Scroggins. I'm a licensed qualified manager in the repossession industry and the advisory member for the repo industry.
And then Andrea, I have you up next.
Hello, everybody. I'm Andrea Daly. I am the Deputy Chief over Licensing for BSIS.
All right. And then Glenn.
Sorry, I'm Glenn Younger. I'm a locksmith in San Diego, so the representative for the locksmith industry.
Thank you. All right. And then we have Mr. Yanez. Do you want to introduce yourself, please? And what profession are you from?
Hi, my name is Angel Yanis. I just been appointed advisory member for training facilities, and I also currently work as the QM for San Antonio Regional Hospital in Upland.
All right. Fabulous. Welcome on board. All right, Mr. Sayers, I got you next.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Chris Sayers. I represent the private proprietary security industry. I'm a security manager with the Disneyland Resort.
All right, and Sam, you're up next. You're muted, Sam. Can't hear you. No, can't hear you now. You know what? I'm just going to fill in for you. And then why don't you fiddle with your technology while I'm done? That's Sam. He's the Deputy Chief of the Bureau. And then next up, we have Shannon, who is also one of our new folks. So welcome, Shannon.
Thank you for the welcome. I'm Shannon Baratsoff. I've been in the security alarm industry for about 15 years, so I'm a newly appointed committee member.
All right. And then we have Darren Morgan. Mr. Morgan, how are you this morning?
Morning, Lynn. Sorry, my technology is not allowing my video, but
That's quite all right.
I'm Darren Morgan from Pasadena, California at Huntington Hospital, where I'm Director of Security and been in the industry just under 30 years.
Okay, welcome again, Darren. Thank you for coming today. Next up, we have Carrie Ortman.
Hi, I'm Carrie. I am the manager of the Policy and Administrative Unit here at the Bureau.
And then finally, we have Valerie Peterson from the Bureau. You're mute, Valerie.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hi. Good morning. This is Valerie Peterson. I'm a policy analyst for BSIS.
All right, welcome. And then we have a couple other folks from DCA General on here that will be making presentations at the appropriate agenda item time. All right, so we are conducting this meeting virtually. Sam, do you want to give yourself a mic check and see if we can hear you this time?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect. Okay, all right. Looks like everybody's straightened out. Okay. All right, so we are conducting this meeting virtually. We have 3 meetings a year. So far, it's worked out since COVID that we've done about 2 virtually and 1 in person. So the meeting in November is going to be in person. So everybody hopefully prepare for that. I believe the meeting dates have been sent out to everybody, but we will be in touch, you know, a little more regularly once November starts to near. November is chosen because that is after all the bills have been signed and we have more of an update for you guys. Today, right now, the legislature is winding down. They're in their last 2 weeks. As you know, our sunset bill is moving through the legislature right now. So right now I'm going to be moving into the first order of business, which is to call this meeting to order, and then we will move into the agenda items. So first order of business, to call this meeting to order. This meeting is called to order, and we are going to be meeting from now until completion of all agenda items. So right now, I'm on the chief's update. I want to take a minute here to veer from my usual comments and to just discuss some queries that we're seeing here at the Bureau. As everybody knows, the Bureau has seen a lot of laws being passed in the private security realm recently. Over the last 4 years, there have been some really big changes in the private security area. The first clarification I want to make is that the Bureau does not go to legislature and ask for these laws. These laws are passed through a variety of means. The legislature, a legislator in there, Chris Holden comes to mind, Assemblymember Holden from Pasadena. He is really interested in the private security realm. He has authored several bills. We do not go to legislature and ask for these bills. We are a completely dependent bureau within the Department of Consumer Affairs, so we do not sponsor legislation. The bills are passed by the legislature. So when we get encouraged to do something along the lines of, you know, I don't want you to implement this bill because I don't think it's fair, and Bureau, you shouldn't implement it. That unfortunately is not an option that we are afforded. We have to follow the laws that are passed. We are agnostic about them. You know, we get our guidance from the legislature, and that is how we must proceed. We cannot disregard laws, unfortunately. We always encourage folks to reach out to the Bureau. If you have any questions about any implementation issues, we are very reachable. Our email address is bsis@dca.ca.gov. So please, if you have any inquiries, go ahead and send us an email at any point. You usually get, if it's a simple query, you get a response within 48 hours. If it is more technical and if it is a more complex policy issue, know that it will go to upper management. We carve out time every week and we go through all of the policy questions that come our way. And these are the how do we interpret the law kinds of questions. So again, the email address is bsis@dca.ca.gov. Please email us, because what we are seeing is an uptick in people who are challenging laws and sending us applications knowing that they do not qualify. And then they are asking for a refund. When we say, hey, you don't qualify because of this law, we do not give refunds. We cannot give refunds. If the Bureau makes an error on our end, we will give a refund. But it is an expensive challenge to make when you send something to the Bureau knowing that you do not qualify and hoping to make a point. We cannot refund you your money. So I just wanted to kind of lay the groundwork there. And again, any issues at all, please email the Bureau. We're very reachable and we're very responsive. So having said that, I'm going to move into the regular order of business again. So we'll do the roll call to order and the roll call. And I believe Valerie is doing that. So Valerie, if you want to call the order.
Yes, sure. Shannon Baratov,
I'm here.
Anton Farmby, Frank Huntington,
Here.
Mark Miller, Mark Miller, are you here? No. Darren Morgan,
Here.
Chris Sayers,
Here.
Leon Scroggins,
Here.
Angel Yanez,
I'm here.
and Glenn Younger.
Here.
Okay, so the next order of business would be to, hang on, let me pull up the agenda real quick. Let me track here. So can we go ahead and call the roll for the minutes that we need approval for? So this goes back to August of 2023. Can we get a motion and a second to approve the minutes for August 2023?
Leon Scroggins will make a motion to approve the minutes for August 17th of 23, November 16th of 23, and April 18th of 24.
Huntington second.
Thank you. That's very efficient. I appreciate both of you doing that. So all three motions and seconds made right there. So Val, can you go ahead and call the roll for each individual meeting, please?
Sure. August 2023. Anton Farnby, not present, sorry. Frank Huntington,
Yes. Aye.
Mark Miller, present. Darren Morgan,
Yes, here.
Chris Sayers,
Aye.
Leon Scroggins,
Aye.
and Glenn Younger.
Aye.
Thank you. And next is November 2023. I'm going to skip to Frank Huntington,
Aye.
Darren Morgan,
Aye.
Chris Sayers,
Aye.
Leon Scroggins,
Aye.
and Glenn Younger.
Aye.
Okay, April 2024. Frank Huntington,
Aye.
Darren Morgan,
Aye.
Chris Sayers,
Aye.
Leon Scroggins,
Aye.
and Glenn Younger.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Just one moment, please. All right, so now we're going to move on to Department of Consumer Affairs update, and we are lucky enough to have two folks from our executive office here to make presentations. We're going to have Karina Moreno do it first. She's going to give the overall DCA general updates, and then we are lucky enough to have Suzanne Balkis, who is our budget manager. She is going to give our fund condition report. This is important because we are going to be asking for a fee increase. So that will be covered a little later on in the appropriate section, but first let's welcome Karina.
Good morning. My name is Karina Moreno of the California Department of Consumer Affairs. Thank you for the opportunity to join you today. On behalf of the department, I would like to welcome Shannon Buritzkoff and Angel Yanez to the advisory committee, and thank you all for serving to protect the public. First is the budget letter 2420, vacancy savings and position elimination. The Department of Finance, DOF, has issued a budget letter 2420 implementing the governor's proposal to reduce the state workforce by 10,000 positions and $1.5 billion. DCA's budget office is working closely with each board and bureau to identify appropriate reductions while maintaining the mandate for consumer protection. The final budget reduction plan will need to be approved by agency and ultimately DOF. The budget reduction will be effective starting in 2024-25 and ongoing, while the position elimination will be effective starting in 2025-26 and ongoing. The reductions will impact DCA boards and bureaus. DCA will share further information and guidance from the Department of Finance as it becomes available. Governor's Appointments Office update. Deputy Appointments Secretary Mayri Valdez Singh was appointed Deputy Commissioner of the Legislation at the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. She worked closely with Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency, DCA boards and bureaus on board and advisory committee appointments. Her last day with the Appointments Unit was July 5th. Going forward, Deputy Appointments Secretary Curtis Lang will oversee the Healing Arts Boards, and Assistant Deputy Appointments Secretary Aubrey Anthony will oversee the non-Healing Arts Boards. Boards and bureaus should continue to work with board and bureau relations on their appointment needs. We wish Mayri well in her new role and look forward to working with Curtis and Aubrey. Next is updated workplace violence prevention policy and new training requirement. SB 553 is a new law that became effective in January. SB 553 amended the California Labor Code to require California employers to develop and implement a workplace violence prevention plan and train all employees by July 1st, 2024. As a result of this new law, DCA updated its current workplace violence prevention policy to include all requirements of SB 553. DCA also developed an annual workplace violence prevention training that is located on DCA's Learning Management System, LMS. The training is mandatory for all employees, including board and bureau members. This new training must be completed by August 30th, 2024. If you have any questions or need assistance accessing LMS, please contact Board and Bureau Relations. Next is Board Member Orientation Training, BMOT, October 22nd, 2024. Board members must complete Board Member Orientation Training, also known as BMOT, within 1 year of appointment or reappointment. On October 22nd, 2024, BMOT will be offered virtually. This will be the last training of the year, and members can register for this training via LMS. Next is Licensing Resources Webinar for Military Service Members and their families. On July 31st, DCA participated in a virtual military licensing webinar hosted by Navy Region Southwest. The webinar showcased DCA military licensing resources to active duty military, veterans, and military spouses throughout California and Nevada Navy bases. DCA's Deputy Director of Communications provided an overview of licensing resources, and DCA's Deputy Director of Information Services provided a demonstration of the federal professional license portability and state registration online portal. DCA received positive feedback and looks forward to continuing its partnerships with the military community. Next is DEI update. DCA's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, DEI, Steering Committee met on July 26, 2024. The meeting included discussion on DEI training, development of a workforce development survey from a DEI perspective, expanding language access, and DEI activities for inclusion in the DCA annual report. This is the second year the DEI committee is memorializing the department's DEI activities in the annual report, which is provided to the administration and the legislature. This year's report will include DCA-specific updates on training, outreach, language access, and tools and resources created for the staff. And it will also highlight board and bureau accomplishments. I'm pleased to share a few examples of DEI-related activities completed by the boards. To further expand public input and access, the Acupuncture Board released its strategic planning survey in 4 languages: English, Spanish, Chinese, and Korean. 75% of the surveys were completed in a language other than English. The California State Athletic Commission extended an existing agreement and executed 2 new agreements with tribal nations to regulate combat sports on tribal land and ensure participant safety. The Medical Board of California administers the Mexico Pilot Program, which allows up to 30 physicians licensed in Mexico who specialize in family practice, internal medicine, pediatrics, and obstetrics and gynecology to practice in California from up to 3 years in 2023. 9 additional physicians were licensed under the Mexico Pilot Program, reaching the 30 physician threshold. The Contractor State Licensing Board translated 10 examinations commonly taken by candidates in Spanish, including the Law and Business examination that is required of all applicants. For other trade examinations in languages, accommodations are made for applicants to be joined by an approved translator during the examination. The annual report will be available early next year and will be shared with your executive officer or bureau chief. The next DEI committee meeting is on October 25th, 2024. If you have ideas you'd like the committee to consider, please share them with your bureau chief. Next is the phishing alert. As a reminder, boards and bureaus are urged to continue to be vigilant and cautious of potential phishing attempts and deceptive emails, texts, and calls to trick individuals in revealing sensitive information or installing malicious software. If you suspect any phishing attempt or encounter a suspicious email, please report it immediately to your bureau chief or DCA's Office of Information Security, OIS. This helps us take swift action to protect everyone. Again, thank you for the opportunity to join you today. I'm happy to answer any questions from the advisory committee. If further information or assistance is needed with any of the items shared today, please don't hesitate to reach out to Board and Bureau Relations.
Thank you, Karina. I do want to piggyback onto what Karina is saying because we found out earlier this week that phishing attempts within DCA are getting quite sophisticated, and somebody spoofed a board executive officer's email and then sent an email to all the board members asking for personal information. So if you ever get an email that you're wondering about, please reach out to me. We want to make sure that you guys do not get compromised through DCA. So there's that. So I will, you know what I'm gonna do, Suzanne, before I call on you to continue agenda item number 3, I'm gonna see if the advisory committee members have any questions about DCA in general from Karina before she heads out. Anybody have any questions for her? So I'm not seeing anybody. Okay, we'll throw it open to the public. Does the public have any questions for Karina Moreno at this time?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions will appear on the screen shortly. If you would like to participate, click on the question mark inside of the square, which is typically located at the bottom right corner of your WebEx screen, and type the word comment in the text field. Make sure it goes to all panelists before clicking that send button. You can also raise your hand if you're calling in by pressing *3 from your phone to raise your virtual hand. At this time, I see no requests for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please. Thank you. Okay, so now what we are going to do is to welcome Suzanne Balkis, who is our budgets manager. Keep in mind, this is going to kind of pair with agenda item number 8, which is our update on our fee regulations. So Suzanne, if you are ready to present, please go ahead. Suzanne, we can't hear you for some reason. I'm not seeing you as muted, but we can't hear you, unfortunately. Yeah. Nope, still can't hear you. Do you want to try turning it off and on again? And then we'll get your documents lined up in the meantime. Elizabeth, can we post the budget documents so we can go through them while she's presenting? Do we have those ready to be presented?
This is the moderator. Or turn it over to Valerie. We did upload a PDF. I'm not sure if that's what you're referencing.
Yeah, that could be it. Valerie, do we have Suzanne's information ready to go?
The budget information I received, I can share my screen and pull that up.
Yes,
Just one
yes,
moment.
let's go ahead and do that.
Hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So let me know when.
Okay, I'll let you know when we start seeing the documents.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay. Okay, I'm
Suzanne,
gonna
do you
start.
see it? Can we make it a little bigger just for everybody to see? Those are some tiny, tiny numbers. I don't know if there's a way that I can make it bigger on my end.
This
There
is the
you go.
moderator. There you go. Thank you, Valerie.
Okay. Okay. All
Thank you.
right.
Can you still hear me, right?
Yes, thank you, Suzanne. Go ahead.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, my name is Suzanne Balkis, and I am the budget manager with the DCA Budget Office. And I want to thank the Bureau Chief and the committee members for allowing me to present the Bureau's expenditure projections and the fund condition statement. In the first document that you see, it is going to be the Bureau's expenditure. These projections are based on actual data through fiscal month 12. The reports include 22-23 actual expenditure in green, and then we have 23-24 budgets and projected expenditure in blue and orange. As you move to the end of the document, you will see the bureaus had a beginning budget of about 18.8 and is projected to spend a total of 15.8, which creates a reversion for the bureau of approximately 3 million, which is about 16.4%. Can we go to the revenue document, please? Thank you. And this is going to be, it is the revenue, which is the receipt collected through June, and provide the projection revenue to year end. And I will go through it more thoroughly when we are presenting the fund condition. So if we can go with the fund condition, the tab in the middle, please. Thank you. So this is the document, is the fund condition statement, and we read this document from top to bottom and left to right. So the left column is the Bureau's prior year 22-23 actuals, and it shows the Bureau have a beginning 22-23 of 5.2, and they collected 16.8 in revenue with 7 million from initial license fee, 8.4 million from license renewal, and 1.2 million collected from the issuance of citations, fines, delinquent fees, and other revenues. The Bureau expends 15.7 million, which includes 1.3 million in direct draw to the fund for statewide pro rata and pension payments. And the Bureau closed 22-23 with a reserve balance of about 6.3 million or 4.6 months in reserve.
Hey, Val, sorry to interrupt. Do you mind scrolling down just a little bit so we can, yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next section is going to be the 23-24, which is the Bureau projected, revenue for over 18 million, with 7.3 million projected from initial license fee, and a little over 8.9 from renewal fee, and 1.2 million from issuance of citation, fine, delinquent fees, and other revenues. The Bureau's 23-24 expenditure are based on the governor's budget, and FM12 projection are about 16.4 between authorized expenditure and a direct draw to the fund, leaving the Bureau with a fund balance of just about 8 million and 4.8 months in reserve. The Budget Office will continue to monitor the Bureau's revenue and expenditure and report back to the Bureaus with the final expenditure once we close the last fiscal month in 23-24. And 24-25, it is considered the current year, and this one is based on Budget Act. And we do not have any projection yet for them because it just started the year. So I'm available if you have any questions.
All right, yeah, thank you, Suzanne. So as you can see, what we go by is just sort of as a general rule of thumb, we go by months in reserve, and you can see we're ticking downwards. We are about to go into the red. If you project out a few more years, we do go into the red. So what we have had in the works for some time, because we have seen this coming, is a new fee package. Again, that's agenda item number 8. We will go into it in a little more detail then. But this is just sort of laying the foundation for that. So then my first question would be to the advisory committee members. Any advisory committee members have any questions for Ms. Balkis?
Yeah, Frank Huntington here. What is an acceptable amount of months in reserve that is the target?
We typically say between 6 to 12 months. is the typical that we like to see the Bureau or any boards at.
Thank you.
Of course.
Anybody else have any questions?
Frank asked mine, so thank you, Frank.
Okay.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay, all right, moving on to members of the public. We will take Q&A from members of the public on this agenda item on the specifically our projected budget and current year budget. Any members of the public have any questions? Moderator, can you open up the line, please?
Yes, this is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions will be on the screen shortly. If you would like to participate, click on that question mark inside of the square, typically bottom right corner of your WebEx screen. Type the word comment. Make sure it goes to all panelists before clicking the send button. If you are calling in, please press *3 to raise your virtual hand. I see no request for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. All right, and a big thank you to Karina and Suzanne for coming this morning to make the presentation. I really appreciate it. It's always helpful to hear what's going on in the larger world. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 4, the Chief's Welcome and Bureau Updates. I want to welcome everybody, especially our new members, Angel and Shannon. Thank you so much. I appreciate your patience as you guys navigated the approval process to get nominated. So thank you. I know it's not easy or quick, so appreciate that. We do just meet 3 times a year, but I always like to take time out to just say thank you, everybody, for dialing in. I do appreciate the time that you take. We're all busy. We're all very busy. We all come from very busy worlds. And carving out, 3 hours 3 times a year doesn't sound like a lot initially, but when the day happens and you're like, right, today's advisory committee meeting, I want to thank you for taking the time to log in and be here and engage with us. So updates, we, as I have been talking about throughout the year, we are in our sunset review process. This also sort of ties into a lot of suggestions that we get over oversight. The last advisory committee meeting, we had a couple of people request a citizen oversight board for the Bureau. And we do have one, that is the legislature. And we are going through a vigorous 8-month review process by the legislature right now. They are our citizen oversight board. We have to, every few years, every board and bureau within DCA has to go through this rigorous review by the legislature. It's called the sunset review process. We have to answer a questionnaire from them, and the questionnaire is comprehensive. And when I say it's comprehensive, we took last year to write a 1,000-page report. Our sunset review report went to the legislature on January 3rd of this year, and they have been holding hearings and reviewing our transactions and our business processes with a fine-tooth comb over the last 8 months. I personally have testified in front of the legislature this year 3 or 4 times, I'm not sure, but every time we go in front of a policy committee, I'm there and bureau staff is there. We get asked questions, we get the report reviewed. The report is on our website, so if you have any questions about where our money goes, how we do things, how many licenses we've done, there's a narrative part and then there's the data part. So please feel free to review the sunset review report at any point. It's got a lot of data in there that is pretty interesting. So you also have the opportunity, and this is for the wider public at large, if you have an issue with the Bureau, or if you want a law changed, please feel free and empowered to go to your legislator and make your case to them to do a law change or to ask questions of the Bureau, especially during the sunset review process. That's the time for folks to come. Citizens are also welcome to come to our sunset review hearings and make statements there about their unhappiness or happiness with the Bureau and their processes. So please know that we are responsive and we are responsible to the legislature to answer for our actions. So again, if you have any issues, you can go to your own legislator and make your case to them and see if they'll take up your cause. So please always feel empowered to do that. We are heading through to the last 2 weeks of the legislative session, so we do anticipate that our sunset review process will come to a close by the end of August. We don't know what the sunset review bill, because it is a piece of legislation, we don't know what it will contain ultimately. The legislature is amending it right now, as I understand. We don't know what they're going to put in there. But if you look online, the bill number is Senate Bill 1454. You look through it and it will have a lot of information about the Bureau's workings and what we would like in terms of legislation. This is the only chance the Bureau has to go to the legislature and say, hey, this is what we're looking for that will help us be a better Bureau, be a safer Bureau, and ensure more consumer safety moving forward. So in that bill, there are policy changes that you're going to want to look at. All of our Practice Act folks are going to want to look at it because there are things in there that impact everybody. So please take a look at SB 1454 with the knowledge that it will probably be amended one more time before the legislature votes on it one final time and sends it to the governor. So I do want to let everybody know about that. We don't really have much of anything else moving through on the Bureau's end. We have an agenda item on legislative and regulatory updates. So we'll hear a little bit more about things that sort of tangentially impact our processes at that point. And just as usual, the same things I always say, if you have a question for the Bureau, always email us. Calling us goes to the DCA-wide call center. So you're not going to be talking to a BSIS employee, but if you email, you do talk to a BSIS employee. All the emails are answered by the subject matter expert for that particular field. So please email us, bsis@dca.ca.gov. Or if you have a specific question regarding one of our practice acts, if you go to bsis.ca.gov, there is a drop-down menu on Contact Us, and it'll go straight to whatever profession that you're inquiring about. We have dedicated email addresses for each of those. It's too long to go into because we have 6 practice acts, but if you go to our Contact Us on our website, you'll see all the various ways you can contact us. Always use online system for applying and for renewing. It is much faster than paper. And final update is our vacancy rate has dropped from a high of nearly 30% to, I think right now we have 3 vacancies. We have authority for almost 80, so we are chugging along fairly robustly, but the governor, as you know, issued an order for us to eliminate vacancies. So we will be losing some positions next budget year. We are scheduled to lose several. We're not sure how many just yet due to the budget crisis. So that is a lot of information in a short amount of time. But hopefully everybody here followed along, and I will kick it over to the Deputy Chief, Sam Sadolsky, to see if he has anything to add here. Sam?
Good morning. Is my microphone still working? Oh, that's good. I just wanted to add that, we spent last year updating the firearms training and the powers to arrest and appropriate use of force training. That was a very large undertaking and required a lot of staff hours, and then we had staff turnover in our policy unit. So our current policy staff, they inherited what previous staff have been working on. Lynn and I both were involved in updating the manuals, updating the exams. And after a while, you get to the point where you can't see the forest through the trees anymore. And I really want to say thank you, and we're very appreciative of all the licensees and stakeholders who have reached out to let us know, hey, test question's a little off, or this answer doesn't seem correct. We've spent the past several months updating, making small changes to the exams, updating the answer keys. Those training manuals are all uploaded on our website under the resources tab. There's also instructions there for obtaining an updated copy of the examination keys. So for those of you that have PPOs or doing firearms training or training instructors, please make sure that you have the most current and updated exam, training manual, and answer key. Okay. That's it.
All right, thanks, Sam. Yeah, our website, and this is another issue that pops up from time to time. Our website, as with many other California state websites, can fall out of date here and there, and which is why we have the disclaimer on our website, and every other California state website is please do not rely upon this for legal advice. You know, there are other ways if you want to know if something is out of date, please email us. We get those emails multiple times daily, like, hey, I think this is wrong. You know what, you're right. We'll provide you with the correct information. So our website, because we have to wait in line to get our IT folks who serve the entire department, not just our bureau, things on our website are out of date occasionally. So please always take things with a grain of salt that you see on our website. And if you think they're out of date or wrong, they might be. So please email us. Okay, kicking it open to questions from advisory committee members on this agenda item. No questions? We were that awesome. Nobody has any issues whatsoever. All right. Okay, kicking open agenda item number 4 for public comments or questions.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open for public comment. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click that question mark inside of the square, typically lower right corner of your WebEx screen, and in the text field, type the word comment. Make sure it goes to all panelists before clicking that send button. If you are calling in from a phone, press *3 to raise your virtual hand. At this time, we have no request for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
All right, next up, it's our licensing update. And this is the first licensing update that our licensing deputy chief, Andrea Daly, will be presenting on. So welcome, Andrea.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So I'd like to start off my first presentation with just some information about the licensing unit as a whole and the positions that it's comprised of, and then give an update of how many initial applications each unit received in the last fiscal year. So the licensing unit as a whole is comprised of 3 associate governmental program analysts, 17 staff services analysts, 9 program technician 2 analysts, 1 management services technician, 1 supervising program technician 3, and 3 staff services managers. For last fiscal year, employee licensing, which is all our registration applications that we process, we received just over 93,000 initial applications. Company licensing received just under 3,000 initial applications, and the weapons unit, which currently processes firearm and baton licensing permits, received just a little bit over 15,000 initial applications. All 3 licensing units achieved their targeted processing timeframes. So we're very proud of that, and a big thank you to the whole team for all of their hard work. Also listed in the licensing update, if you can scroll down just a little bit, Val, please, is a graph of a chart of all of the licensing populations by license type through June 30th, 2024, if anybody wants to take a look and review that.
I think we can all scroll down. I know I'm able to scroll up and down on it on my own, so I don't know what magic this is because I'm not technologically savvy, but I think we can all move it up and down independently.
Oh, excellent. Yes, as can I. I did not know that. See, first time learning new things here. So that's all that I have. I'm open to questions, or if there's suggestions from the committee members of talking points that they would like me to bring forward for the next couple meetings, or what information that they would like to hear about with the next licensing update.
Andrea, this is Frank Huntington. Thanks so much. I always get confused with these because we've got the private investigator, then we've got the qualified manager, and I think last year there were 28,000 qualified managers because it was a whole mess with certificates versus licensing. So is that figure that says private investigator, is that the current number of licensees in the state of qualified manager / private investigators?
So it's just the private investigator total at this point. We won't start reporting and including the qualified manager total until next year when it comes to be its own license.
And Frank, remember the reason why the large amount of PIQMs was because it's a lifetime certification?
Right, exactly right. So, so I'm assuming now that's getting all cleaned up.
I mean, you recall that the PIQ is only going to come into effect for those folks who want to manage outside of their own agency.
Right.
So there's not really a lot to clean up. I mean, there will be another set of numbers at some point, but
Hey, Frank, this is Sam. I think if you remember last time, the number got reported as private investigators and private investigator qualified manager, so it made the population look a lot larger than it was. So Andrea took this report and kind of condensed it down a bit so it made more sense. So that's going to be the actual number of PI company licenses that are currently there.
Okay, so I'm one of the 66, 63, basically.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, well, okay, that's great. I'm glad that we've got an accurate number. Thank you very much, Andrea.
Of course.
all right. Any other advisory committee members have any questions for Andrea? Okay, then moving on to public comment. Any public comments or questions for this agenda item?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions will be on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on that question mark inside of the square, type the word comment, and make sure it goes to all panelists before clicking that send button. If you're calling in via phone, *3 to raise your virtual hand. At this time, I see no request for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Oh, yes, please. Thank you. All right, moving on to agenda item number 6, update on the Bureau's enforcement unit. Sam, are you going to be doing this update?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So the first things first, one of the things enforcement that we're looking at right now is recruiting a replacement for our current Deputy Chief of Enforcement. Ruby Montoya is retiring after 42 years of service with DCA. So we will have her till the end of September. So we're in the process of recruiting an SSM2 to take her place. Obviously no easy feat. So we're working on that. One of the things that we've been working on in enforcement, especially as we've been going through the sunset process, is looking at how we can address workload and shift some of our priorities. You know, as of today, we have 4 special investigators. We have 10 staff in our enforcement unit and 5 staff in our complaint resolution unit. So the workload will be divvied up in the sense that the special investigators will be spending their time in the field. They're going to be responding to, you know, allegations of unlicensed activity. They're going to be doing stings and sweeps. They got together a couple weeks ago, started planning out their calendar for the year, what large events they're going to want to target to actually go out, check guard cards. So they'll be doing more. You'll be seeing a more proactive field presence from our Bureau enforcement staff. Our enforcement unit is comprised of AGPAs, so they'll still be doing a lot of the desk investigations and the inspections. So they're the ones coming out to your business, you know, sitting down, going through your books with you, looking at your records, stuff like that. And then our complaint resolution staff, their focus is mediating consumer complaints. They're the first area that they also have complaint intake. So they're the first ones who receive these complaints. They look at it, they determine, is this something that can be mediated between the consumer and the licensee? Is this something that needs to go to enforcement? So they work on that level. So we're really going to see how the staff resources will work this next coming fiscal year. Like I said, 4 special investigators. You know, we started a few years ago with just 1. So our hope is to have that more proactive approach out there. If you look at our sunset report, like Glenn said, we drastically increased the number of unlicensed activity citations over the last 4 years. So we anticipate doing that along with some of the new enforcement authority that's been identified in the sunset report and is currently in our sunset bill. One of the items in there that made it into the actual bill is the ability to issue infraction citations in the field. Our staff will go through the appropriate training, and next year, hopefully, we'll be doing that. So it provides a stronger enforcement presence in a situation where it doesn't always have to just be administrative citations we issue. They will actually be able to issue criminal infraction citations. Essentially, they'll get to write tickets. The benefit to that is that it creates a process where there is a better record of unlicensed activity than just administrative citations issued by the Bureau. So we'll see how that works out over the next couple of years. We're really excited for that. This will be the first time in a long time that we've been able to have that field presence. To that end, if you look at the enforcement report that's up on the screen, 30% of our pending investigations are unlicensed activity right now. And for the last fiscal year, this report was run a few weeks before the end of the fiscal year, but about 56% of the citations issued were for unlicensed activity. So that is the push that we've been really working on with our folks. Also, with that said, we have new staff in enforcement. We've had some retirements, we've had some promotions. So, the last year, I think we've seen a lot of new staff come on board, and we have a lot of new staff that are training. So we're excited for that. We anticipate they'll be doing great things. And the other thing, it kind of dawned on me this week. I just got back last night. We were in Riverside for 2 days worth of DRC hearings. For those of you that don't know, our DRC is our Disciplinary Review Committee. They hear denials, suspensions, and citations. And we had 2 days. This is private security. We had 2 days of hearing. We had about almost 30 appellants come through in 2 days. And about a half a dozen of them were all guard applicants who were denied a license, who were currently working security for their various companies. And it got me thinking, I don't know, are there companies out there that either just don't care or they're playing the numbers game, or if some people actually still think that guards can work on temporary licenses? I don't know. But it's kind of a question I kind of have for the committee, especially some of our private security representatives. I mean, how often are you guys seeing this more in the field? Because it just felt like this week there was more and more, and it was very surprising. Obviously, I mean, we take notes from those hearings, referrals go over to enforcement, so we'll handle it on that end. But I'm just curious from any committee members if they have any thoughts on that, if they're seeing that more and more as well. But other than that, that's it for me.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I'll kick it open to committee members to see if unlicensed activity is ticking up. I mean, it's always a high volume, but anybody have any thoughts on that? It looks like Mark, who is our private security representative, is not here today. So unfortunately, we don't have him here to give us our thoughts, but.
This is Glenn from San Diego. Anecdotally, post-COVID, it seems like there's been a lot more hiring activity. And so the jobs numbers, the number of people who are quitting and starting a new job is up dramatically in the state as it is across the country. But there's more new people and new jobs than ever. And I know in my little industry, 3/4 of the people who are hired on aren't licensed right away. And I just think there's a surge of people moving around. So the mobility of employees has gone up dramatically. And again, that is sort of all post-COVID. At some point that'll slow down, but I think that's to blame for part of it. There's just a lot more people in a lot newer positions than there used to be.
Yeah. Any other advisory committee members? Thoughts, questions, comments, and then I will kick it open for public comment. Nope. Okay, moderator, can you, sorry, did somebody say something?
Yeah, I started to speak up. I'm sorry, Chief. Because of, there's nothing in here about the repossession industry because of, was it 125.9, we were excluded or exempted from unlicensed activity a few years back. Or do you get reports of unlicensed activity that you just can't investigate?
I'll have Sam answer that one.
Okay.
Honestly, Leon, we don't see it as much in the repossession field. The issue that comes up in there is the forwarding companies and whether or not they need to be licensed. And it gets really, really wonky when you start going down the pathway of trying to look at, okay, what exactly is a forwarding company doing? Are they only doing skip tracing? But skip tracing is part of that definition of repossessors. So I would say that has historically been kind of the issue that's been at the forefront of questioning the unlicensed aspect of repossessors. But I can't say, you know, that it's been a large problem that we've seen or run into a lot of unlicensed repossessors out there. I think for the most part, repossessors know the risk that they run trying to do it. I mean, obviously, if you repossess a vehicle, you need to notify law enforcement, you know, and if you're unlicensed, well, it may not be an administrative citation from the Bureau, but it can be, you know, misdemeanor under the penal code. So I think the forwarding companies, that's probably the biggest issue with unlicensed.
Does the Bureau have a set standard that they look at when they look at a forwarding company to determine whether that particular company needs to have a license? Is there some kind of written criteria, or how do you kind of make that decision?
We have to look at that point at the totality of what they're doing. You know, look at the definition of a repossessor. You know, they're accepting an order to locate or repossess collateral. Well, locate includes skip tracing. So the question becomes, okay, what exactly are they doing? And then 9 times out of 10, they're not even in the state. So at that point, it's even more difficult. So literally, it's case by case. We have to look at the totality of what they're doing in context of what the definition would be.
Thank you, Sam.
Sam, I'm sorry, I also have a comment. I'm not trying to make extra work for you, but I see the 100 and some odd complaints against PIs in there. If there's a way to periodically let Callie know generally what the complaints are about, we can do our best to educate our members to try to reduce that number. If they're, of course, if they're licensed, I'm assuming those are all licensed. But we want to work with you guys to educate our members to reduce that number.
You know, absolutely. I can work with our staff and look at, because if you look in the sunset report, one of the things that was required is they look at the trend allegations we've had over the past 4 fiscal years. That one's going to be you know, all licensees. But it's definitely something we can look at doing, and maybe that's something we could present quarterly. So I'll work with my staff on it, see what we can do.
Thanks very much.
Any other advisory committee members have any issues, questions, comments? Okay, before I open it up for public comment, I did want to add just something very quickly. We sent out guidance and posted it on our social media accounts last week, I believe. We are starting to see an uptick. The initial training for guards, the 8 hours, appropriate use of force, powers to arrest. That was the one that Sam said we overhauled last year. It took us a long time. It was a lot of effort. And one of the provisions in there said that half of this training must be in person. So the online trainers are not super happy about that, understandably. So what is happening? Now, keep in mind, the Bureau has to accept one certificate with one instructor's signature on it for this use of force, powers to arrest training. One signature, one trainer. The online folks are training these people, doing what they can online, and then giving them a certificate and saying, okay, now you got to go somewhere else for the rest of this. Well, the online trainers aren't telling their folks that they're training that it is a single source training is really what we accept. And so they are taking these folks' money and then turning them out. And then the in-person trainers, as I'm sure Angel will attest, are like, no, we're not going to just teach you. We don't know what you've been taught, and we're not going to sign off on, a signature when we don't know who this other person was and what you've learned. So there's been a real uptick in complaints to us. So we are putting it out there that we are strongly recommending that folks go to an in-person training facility to get to their 8 hours rather than splitting it up, because you're going to run into problems if you try and submit 2 different training certificates for this 1 8-hour training. So just wanted to address that quickly as well. Okay, having said that, moderator, can we open up this agenda item for public questions and comments, please?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click that question mark inside the square, typically right corner of your WebEx screen. Type the word comment in the text field. Make sure it goes to all panelists before clicking the send button. Those who are calling in, *3 to raise your hand. I do have individual identified as Crystal B. Crystal B, I'm going to send a request to unmute your microphone in just a moment. And I would like to ask the Bureau to confirm the time limit. Is it 3 minutes?
Yes.
Thank you. So I'm going to set my timer to 3 minutes and send a request to unmute Crystal's microphone. You're unmuted, Crystal.
Thank you. My name is Crystal. Oh, I have some feedback. Hold on a minute.
Yeah, if you could.
The audio is not working, so
It's working now. I can hear you now with no echo.
on my phone, so now there's feedback. So I do have a question about the private investigator complaints. I'm looking at a BSIS report, staff report from August 2023, and it shows that the complaint number for private investigators is 174, that's 6%. Below that, there's 2 boxes that show unlicensed activity citation and unlicensed activity citations for the 2 different years. Private investigator, it shows 1 complaint for unlicensed activity. And so I'm confused because it's 174 complaints total for 2022 and 23, but there's only 1 complaint here that's logged for unlicensed activity. And I'm also curious what constitutes unlicensed activity. Thank you.
So I am having to go and look up to see what exactly it is you're looking at. So I don't have that number in front of me.
Looking at the current staff update.
Yeah, she's on page 3 of the staff update.
It's, she said this is from August of last year, right? August 2023.
This is the moderator. Crystal responded yes. Would you like me to send have her unmute again?
Well, I think what I can explain is the percentages that are on there, the percentage breakdown is the percentage of unlicensed activity citations issued. So that number will represent what percentage out of the total for just unlicensed activity. And the reason we have the 2 fiscal years there is so you can kind of see the changes from fiscal year to fiscal year. The total number of complaints, those are total complaints having to do with PI. So they can include licensees. They can also include unlicensed activity as well. It just so happens when you look at that, so 22-23, there was 1 unlicensed activity citation for an unlicensed PI. For 23-24, there were 5 instances of unlicensed activity, and those were actually citations issued. Those citations can be issued either in the context of finding somebody who is in fact doing unlicensed activity. There's been instances where the PI decided, you know what, I don't want to pay my renewal fee, that's too much money, I'm just going to keep working and hope I don't get caught, and maybe they did. There's a lot of different, scenarios that can equate to unlicensed activity for any of our licensees, really. PIs, it's definitely not quite as prevalent as you find in like the private security industry. Obviously, I mean, most PIs, I think are, properly licensed in what they're doing. Some situations are kind of wobblers where maybe they're walking the fine line between an area where they're exempt and an area that requires licensure. So all of those will be looked at on a case-by-case basis because sometimes it can turn into a gray area. Right. So I hope that answers your question, Crystal.
Okay, anybody else have any questions, members of the public?
This is the moderator. I do not have any additional requests. Crystal did say BSIS report August 2023 licensing update. I just wrote down unlicensed activity is 50%. Other than that, there are no further requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Okay, so moving on to agenda item number 7. So this is the Bureau's update on 2024 legislation impacting us. We are going to have our policy and admin manager, Carrie Ortman, make this presentation. Carrie, you're up.
Good morning. As of August, apologies, August 31st, 2024 is the last day for each house of the California legislature to pass bills. The governor then has until September 30th of 2024 to sign or veto the bills passed by the legislature. I will cover the few bills that we have right now that impact us directly or would. Assembly Bill 2228 Villaputa. This bill would allow a licensed repossession agency to serve a debtor with a notice of seizure by regular mail addressed to the current address if known or by personal service. This bill is currently dead. However, according to the author's office, select provisions will be incorporated into Senate Bill 1454, which is the Bureau's sunset bill. Assembly Bill 2120 Chen. This law would exempt repossession agencies and their employees from certain prohibitions against trespass while they're on private property searching for collateral or repossessing collateral. This bill's currently as of this report, was in Senate, re-referred to Committee on Appropriations, and then referred to the suspense file. And our big bill, Senate Bill 1454 Ashby, is our sunset bill. This bill will do a lot of things. It would extend the Bureau sunset date to January 1st, 2029. Extends the respective sunset dates authorizing licensed private investigators and alarm companies to be organized as an LLC to January 1st, 2030. It authorizes the Bureau to cite persons licensed under the Collateral Recovery Act for violations of the Act or other BSIS regulations. It would require every agreement between a private investigator and a client be in writing as specified. A private investigator must maintain a legible copy of the signed agreement and investigative findings, including any written report, for a minimum of 2 years, and the agreement must be made available for inspection by BSIS upon demand. It would delete several exempted entities from the Proprietary Security Services Act, would exempt federally recognized tribes that have one or more employees who provide unarmed security services only for the federally recognized tribe, and an unarmed individual employed by a federally recognized tribe who is providing security services only for the federally recognized tribe from the Proprietary Security Services Act. And it would make other conforming technical changes as necessary to allow tribal participation in BSIS regulated security activities. This bill is in the Assembly. As of June, it was re-referred to Committee on Appropriations and set for hearing.
Okay.
That's the end of the ledge update.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the interesting things about Senate staff working on our sunset bill is the Senate staffer who is leading, who is the lead staffer on this bill, is a former DCA legislative office employee. So she's very good. She's very on top of all business and professions codes. So It's been really interesting working with her. So she knows where all the bodies are buried, apparently. So yeah, so there's the sunset bill that's moving through. We're all, I think, kind of waiting to see what the legislature ends up with it in its final version. I think we're all anxiously awaiting the latest set of amendments. I'm not sure when they're going to come out. They don't let us know what's going on really. So we're in the dark with everybody else on what's happening with this bill right now. So and then why don't you, Carrie, why don't you go ahead and give, actually, you know what? I'll split this up into two. So let's see if the advisory committee members have any questions on legislation, and then we will do regulation separately.
I have a couple questions, Chief.
Sure.
Okay, first off, on Assembly Bill 2228, what constitutes that bill being dead? Because when you look on the legislative tracking site on the web, it shows it's still in committee and it doesn't mention anything about not, being moved out of committee or anything. So what constitutes that being dead?
Right, yeah, it's a little bit of inside baseball, unfortunately, which is the case with so many things in the legislature, which is a little frustrating. I just, it should be intuitive and it's not. There are deadlines in the legislature. So if your bill does not make it out of policy committee by X date, it's dead. So
Okay.
it didn't make it out of committee. All bills should either be in appropriations, which the big appropriations hearing is today. Today is the suspense file they're going through, or it should be on the floor at this point. If it is in committee, that bill is dead, but sometimes not. Sometimes they get resurrected at the last minute with the gut and amend. But yeah, that's how we know it's dead. And then we also reach out to the author's office just to make sure, like, hey, what's going on with your bill? And they said, well, Business and Professions Committee is taking some of our provisions, so we're gonna just let it die. So that's how we know what's going on with that bill.
So Villa Padua, the author of the bill, he's has some intent to try to put portion of that legislated into Senate Bill 1454?
Yes, that's what we were told.
Okay.
We're not sure what or what's going to come out of it, but that's what we were told.
And then the same applies, I guess, to Assembly Bill 2120, Chan, that the deadlines have passed, it's in suspense, and that's where it's going to die.
So we're watching that bill today. It's on suspense, so we will see if it makes it off of the suspense file, which means basically suspense is a fiscal net, and all bills that cost over a certain amount of money. And the certain amount of money threshold, it depends on how the budget is. So this year budget is bad. So I don't know what the threshold is because I'm not a legislative staffer, but when I was, and it was a bad budget year, if a bill cost over like $25,000, it was going to get referred to the suspense file. So, that is how bills cost and how much they cost, because this bill costs, I can't remember what it is, but it is a preset formula. If it's going to cause a workload increase of, X, then basically it's a spreadsheet that finance puts it in and says, okay, this is how much, or budgets puts it in and says, okay, this is how much this bill is going to cost, that kind of thing. We don't make up a cost, because that is also a myth that is out there, is that we sit there and we're like, okay, we don't like this bill, so we're going to charge it at $500,000 or whatever. That's not what we're allowed to do. We have to demonstrate the workload increase in each bill, and then we have to say, we think this will increase by 1%. We have to justify that with a workload analysis. It's a whole thing that goes into costing these bills. So this bill I think has a price tag of over $100,000, if I'm not mistaken, because by the calculations that we did with our budget office, it looks like it's going to result in at least one more position that requires us to evaluate whether or not trespassing occurred, if it was within a reasonable time. So every single complaint we get will now require an extra layer of analysis. And because we are kicking open the trespassing door under this bill a lot wider, that will remove a disincentive for collateral recovery folks. So we do expect that not only will collateral recovery activity go up, but complaints will go up accordingly, which is why that bill has a price tag. That's a very long way of answering your question, Leon, to say that if that bill makes it out of appropriations today, the next stop is the floor. And then it will go from one chamber over to the other chamber, make sure that everything passes the same, and then it will go to the governor's desk. So keep your eyes out. Tomorrow, all the databases in the legislature will be updated and the legislative information will be updated, and we will know whether or not that bill made it out, if we are not keeping an eye on the hearing, which I am not. watching the
Thank
hearing
you on
today.
that. That was actually a very good answer, Chief. And then the last question would be on 1454, putting the Collateral Recovery Act licensees back under 125.9. Is that my understanding correctly?
Yes, that was something that the legislative staffer who used to work at DCA suggested. She always kind of wondered why they had been carved out, and I was not here for that. So she asked, and
That
we.
was prior to your
It
time
was
as
prior to
chief,
my,
correct?
yes, it was prior to my tenure that happened.
So if that passes as currently written, then the repossession industry will be back into where they can have unlicensed activity fines again, and investigations?
Correct.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, she did point out, the staffer did point that out as a consumer safety issue in her opinion, and that's why she included it.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, any other advisory committee member have any questions on legislation at this time? Okay, moderator, can you open it up for public questions and comments here, please?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions will be on the screen shortly. If you would like to participate, click that question mark inside of the square, type the word comment and send it to all panelists, or raise your hand if you call in through a phone by pressing *3. At this time, I see no request for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A? Oh, give me just a moment. I just received one. Marcel, I'm going to send a request to unmute your microphone. Give me just a moment. I'm going to send a request and set my timer to 3 minutes. You are unmuted.
President of the California Association of Licensed Repossessors. I don't know if you can all hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, Marcel.
Thank you so much. I know there's been concern about this bill for trespass, and I would like to address the concerns that have been raised with CalR. As far as the consumer being harmed by auto repossession and the lender not taking the path of judicial process, this is exactly what happened in June of 2020 when Monique Limon introduced AB 2501, where there was not going to be any auto repossession until June of 2022. The harm this causes the consumer is exactly what I don't believe the consumer groups want, which is they have to pay for a judicial process, number one. Number two, they cannot redeem their vehicle from the repo man after being a few months delinquent. So not only are they responsible for approximately $10,000 in legal costs, but then they have to pay the car off as well. This obviously would affect auto financing in the state of California. There would not be affordable auto financing in this state if judicial process was the only way a lender could retrieve their vehicle. Obviously, we love judicial process. It's much easier for us. We're all for it. We would support judicial process. I don't believe the DA's office would be in support of it. The courtrooms are already backed up and it's a logjam as it is. There's years of cases to be heard. They do not want courtrooms being taken up by lenders trying to get their vehicles back through judicial process and not using the courtrooms for obviously the criminal activity that they would like to see pursued. As far as law enforcement, they are not going to support it. They can't keep up with what they have to do. And with 1.2 million repossessions in the country thus far, I don't believe that this is anything that anybody that would have to bear this burden on law enforcement or the DA's side would support. So I would just like to ask anybody if they have any questions of CalR or our support of the bill and our support of judicial process.
So thank you, Marcel. Unfortunately, this is not sort of a back and forth type forum with members of the audience, but I can give anybody who wishes to reach out to CalR with questions, I have their contact info. If that's okay, I will hand out contact information on this for CalR if you have any questions. Okay, so moving on to the next commenter, it looks like Crystal B is raising her hand.
This is the moderator. Yes, Crystal B, I've sent a request to unmute your microphone. You
Uh,
are muted.
So, I'm sorry. This is strange having this feedback. So my name is Crystal. I am from San Diego, and I have a question about the bill that has to do with licensing private investigators. Was that what I understood one of the bills is for? And separating the MQs?
No, sorry. No, that's not one of the bills, this
Oh, okay.
legislative
I'm sorry,
session.
I misunderstood.
Yeah,
That's it. Thanks.
okay, no problem.
This is the
Yeah,
moderator.
sorry, go ahead, Elizabeth, my apologies.
No worries. My apologies. There are no further requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Thank you. Just to respond, Crystal, the bill you may have thought, which is our sunset bill, AB or SB 1454, does not touch minimum qualifications for PIs. Okay, all right, so Carrie, let's move on to the regs now. The one reg package that we have pending is our fee increase. So Carrie, if you could also just give a background that this fee increase had been approved back in 2017, all that stuff.
So we have in fact been discussing this fee reg for a while. It started with a fee audit, as Lynn said, back in 2017, where we were given a floor and a ceiling of fees that we could charge. And at the time, the Bureau chose to take the floor route. They recommended that we go higher, and after looking at it and doing the math, it was determined that they didn't need to go higher and they didn't want to do that to the licensee population if they didn't have to. Well, we have now reached the point where we're going to have to raise fees. And this fee package that, as I said, we've been discussing for some time would impact the California Code of Regulations, Title 16, Division 7, Article 8, Sections 638 through 642.5. It is currently in the production phase, although through the hard work of our analysts here in the regulations unit, we're almost out of the initial production phase. And once we're ready for submission, a notice will be posted on our website to keep the public informed as to the status of the package.
Thank you. And to those of you who are asking, just, I know everybody, the question on everybody's mind is how much are our fees going to get increased? It's a 10% increase proposed. And that is consistent with the legislative authority that we have. Again, like Carrie did say, in 2017, we conducted a fee audit, and the auditors came back with, yeah, you can raise it between X amount and X amount. We went in the middle because a fee increase that would have gone to the ceiling that we were legislatively allowed would have been too much at the time. Anyway, we are now using the rest of that authority to raise it to the 10% that we hadn't raised it before. So for instance, a guard card will that fee will go up by $5. So it's not an extensive raise. And the original authority was a recommendation to raise it 40%. We raised it 30% at the time. So there is that 10% that we still have authority for. So that is what this fee package will do, but we will notice it in the same way we notice everything. It will go through the Office of Administrative Law, the way all regulations do. And you have multiple opportunities. Once it goes to OAL, they will kick it open for public comment, and you can comment on it at that point. So I would recommend, as always, that you sign up for our email blasts. They are on our website. If you go to bsis.ca.gov, you scroll down a little bit on the right-hand side, sign up for email alerts. All important stuff that we push out gets pushed out there first. So again, recommend that we do that. So, okay. Then I'm going to open it up for advisory committee members on questions for the fee reg specifically.
Just to clarify, that's 10% for every license under the Bureau?
Correct.
Okay.
All 20 plus whatever.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
I have just clarification. You have the authority then for the 10% currently, or do you have to wait for this fee regulation to pass?
We have the authority currently to propose, which means normally if you want a fee increase, you have to go to the legislature. And they've done that deliberately because it is a burden upon people, right? Especially working people, you're raising the means through which they need to make a living. So legislature takes that very seriously, and they do not allow fee increases to go without their authority. So what happens sometimes, as happened with us, is they give you a floor and a ceiling. So some flexibility and yeah, so we do not need to go back. We just need to move the regulations forward.
So basically, in other words, you're currently under the ceiling, so you can go ahead and raise the 20 license fees that you do to 10% now then.
Yes, correct.
When do you anticipate actually putting that raised fee on the site so it can be seen what it is?
Sure. So we're going to have the materials. Everything is still kind of in draft form. It's right now it's going through the internal review process, which takes a while. It's over at legal. But if you go to our fee, it really, we don't have it listed yet, but we will publish all of this stuff once it gets approved and we're able to post it. So that's probably going to be a couple of months, but in the meantime, just keep in mind, it's going to be a 10% raise across the board. So, and then Leon, I can talk to you afterwards if you have specific questions about how much each individual fee is going up. I can provide you with that information.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah. Anybody have any other questions? Committee members? Nope. Okay, let's open it up to the public.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click that question mark, type comments, send it to all panelists, or raise your virtual hand by clicking on or pressing *3 from your phone or clicking on the outline of a hand. I do have individual identified as Crystal B. I'm going to send a request to unmute your microphone. I am going to send another request. Just confirm it from your side, Crystal.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
So I just had a question about the fees. Does that include fines as well? So like, let's say you're practicing or you're doing something that's
No, this is just
unauthorized
licensing
or
fees.
have made a
Yeah.
mistake or
No,
broken
it's
the
just
code.
licensing fees.
Are
We don't
those
have
fees
No,
also
it's
going subject to the 10% increase?
no. Just fees, just licensing fees. That's the only thing we have authority to do. If we wanted to increase unlicensed, all that stuff, that would take separate legislation. So this is just your licensing fees. Okay, any other questions from the public?
No additional requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Thank you. All right. Moving on, public comment on items not on the agenda. Okay, so I am going to kick it open just to the public for public comment on items not on the agenda.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions will be on the screen here or are on the screen here. If you would like to participate, click that question mark inside of the square, type the word comment, send it to all panelists. You can press on the hand outline, which is typically bottom center of your WebEx screen. But for those who are calling in, *3 to raise your virtual hand.
And just a little bit of a note about this. This is just a chance for you to express your concerns or questions. The Bureau and the Advisory Committee, we do not engage in a back and forth with folks, but we can consider it and put it on the agenda for a future agenda item if necessary and if the Advisory Committee agrees.
This is the moderator. There are no requests for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please. All right. Okay. So then the final agenda item is suggestions or recommendations for future advisory committee meeting agenda items. Advisory committee meeting members, now's your chance to shine. What do you want us to look at?
I have a question about the meetings themselves, not the agenda. Is this the appropriate time to ask that question?
Sure.
Are you planning for next year to have 3 meetings, 2 of them being virtual and 1 in person?
That seems to work out well. And the reason why we are leaning towards that model again for next year is because we have a lot of folks who are interested in the Bureau but live elsewhere. And so we give them a chance to log on and express their questions and concerns and comments, because otherwise it would present a difficulty for them. So yeah, two virtual, 1 in person around, it's usually the 3rd Thursday in April, August, and November.
I don't suppose the November one could be the 2nd Thursday because of what's happened the last 2 years with me.
Right. Yes, you are, let's look at adjusting that.
Or maybe make the in-person one the middle one instead of the end one.
Right, yeah, we keep running into conferences in November that keep
Right.
getting in the way. So yeah, that is something we're gonna look at. So stay tuned. We may change the date on the November hearing.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Hey, Chief, if you're going to change the date, though, do us a favor. Can we do it sooner rather than later, as I have to make travel plans in
Sure.
advance?
Yeah.
With my company, I want to make sure that I don't book them and then have to cancel them and redo
Right.
it. So it'd be nice to get that done sooner rather than later, if we're going to move it. Because I
Yeah.
almost made the reservation already and I held off.
Yes, okay, yes, we'll get back to you guys within a week. That's something that we're gonna, Carrie, let's sit down, you and me, after this meeting and see if what the options we have are. Okay, anybody else? No? All right, if no other comments or questions, want to thank everybody for their time today. Great work, staff, and appreciate everybody's time. Thank you very much, Elizabeth and DCA exec staff. See you all in a few months.